MBA in East Texas A&M University. She's also a graduate of the University of Oklahoma's Economic Development Institute and holds certifications as an Entrepreneur Center Manager, Economic Development Finance Professional, and Master Economic Development Practitioner. You can look at all the all the certifications on her wall. We're really excited to have you, Tracy, and welcome.
Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. So glad to see everybody in here today. And I'm glad to be our speaker. But as I've looked around the room and I've seen some names online, can y'all raise your hand if you have been a grant winner or in here? Yeah, you can raise it higher so we can all see. So this is a topic you'll find I'm very passionate about. Grants are such a vital importance to so many of you entrepreneurs starting out, especially when funding is really tight and you can't get it anywhere else. So let me get to my presentation. Well, that's me again. Okay. So we already went through who the Jane Nelson Institute is. They're like our parent here. And if any of you are new in here, make sure you go down and stop in the gallery. So why do grants matter? So grants offer funding where you don't have to give them any part of your business. They have a specific purpose. When our grants specifically, we're asking what you're going to spend the funds on. All of these slides are going to be sent to everybody. So I just want to mention again, so you don't have to take, well, you can take notes, but we'll send you the slides. But a grant is given for a specific purpose. That's what we look at every time we do a grant. We have given over $2,500,000 in grants to women-owned businesses in Texas. It is not a gift or a charity. You will get a 1099 if you get a grant from anybody, and it's because that is considered income. So don't expect grants to entirely fund your business. I often see a lot of new entrepreneurs who think that they're going to fund their business with grants. No. You need to consider them a windfall and a plus because grants are so competitive. Competition is fierce, so you really need to pay attention. Details matter on these, so you want to make sure you're doing everything you can to give a great grant application. I have to date judged over 5,000 grants. And I really want everybody to be able to give a great grant. That's why I get so passionate. And sometimes you hear it in my voice because it's so frustrating and it's got to be for you. I didn't win the grant. Well, if you didn't send what was needed, you're not going to win it. Think of this, $5,000. If you have a new business, how long would it take you to get $5,000? It could take years. Sometimes, I mean, it is really difficult when you're starting a new business. So pay attention as you're doing that. Business advisors can assist you in when you're doing a grant, not ours, because that's a conflict of interest, but you can work with others to do that. Some people have asked me, do I need a grant writer? I don't know how to do this. We have very simple questions on our application. There's a lot of scams and grant writers. And I don't want to see any single one of you going out and getting scammed, especially on our grant. It is easy to fill out. We had somebody one year, she had a grant writer. They didn't submit her grant. So great, you paid someone on something and they didn't turn it in for you. So be wary. We had one person who was going to charge for grants on our program. The new guidelines were not even sent out. You can send me an email on any grant. We have a dedicated grant email. We do it by email only. Don't call asking a question. And the reason being, we want a document of every single reply we have given. So if there's ever an issue, we can go back and look at it. So we know you are getting the grant, the correct grant information. So this person who was going to be charging people for the grant was disqualified 2 times from our grant. So be very wary. And we really don't recommend that you pay someone to do this grant. You can send questions as you're going through. Does this qualify as woman-owned? We do so many things in there to help you, but people just don't read. So make sure you do that. We started even getting a checklist, because there are things that are going to disqualify you in the very beginning if you don't have it. We have a checklist. On our checklist, you can go to the state and make sure your business is good with the state. We are funded by state funds. So if you never paid your franchise tax, if you have moved, we had people who have moved, keep track of your business formation. And when you move, you change your address. You need to make sure that you're doing that. So you have the option of checking this even before you apply. It's saving you time and it's saving us time. We get sometimes hundreds of grant applications. So we have to do a very fast screening process. And if you don't have it in the beginning, you're X'd out right away. And we don't want to see that, because some of this is just paying attention to the documents and what we are asking for. If anyone is going to offer help, make sure you vet them correctly. Like I said, we had someone who was disqualified for ours twice and was going to train people on how to apply for our grant. So you want to be very careful if you are going to use someone. And again, our business advisor can't be offering you that guidelines just because it would be a conflict of interest. So before you apply, you want to check eligibility. Is my business eligible for this grant? We find many times, and ours clearly says, that nonprofits cannot apply. And every time we get some nonprofits in there, it's showing that people are not reading. And you'll find there's a theme, read, read, read. You'll hear it a lot. So you want to be careful with that. A nonprofit does not have any owners, so it can't be woman-owned. They opt to be tax exempt. We are funded with taxes. They are not eligible for these grants for those reasons. Plan backwards as you're getting started. Look at this. When is the due date? I'm going to work back from that. Maybe I'll work this part first. Maybe I'll do the information about my company first. Maybe I'll start on my budget. Maybe I need to go back and look how much I spent on some of these things before. So you can plan backwards from the due date. Double check your tech needs. Is there a portal? Everything that we do is through our submittable program online. Sometimes I've had people send in a grant. During COVID, when we did the Assist Her grant, someone sent a whole book to the school. That's not what we requested. Nobody was at the school. So make sure you're always following the guidelines and how you're going to submit something. Double check your tech needs. That's the portal, file formats. We want everything in a PDF. Just make sure you're all set with all of those things. Understanding the application process. This can go from the announcement to award. So first, we always do, and we started doing this pre-announcing our grant, because we'd open and it'd be a month and we'd get so many, I just heard about it today, the day after it closed or something. So now we send it out earlier. So pay attention to those dates from the beginning. That's when the grant opens. Then you're going to prepare and submit your application. It goes through a review process with us. We have at least 3 people read every single application. And so this is why we don't want 50 pages because we're going to be lost in that. So our review, again, we have 3 or more on every single application. I do every single one, but we have external people in the community, those that help entrepreneurs from the College of Business. We had Stephanie, no, she didn't do them last time. We had the other librarian for Denton Libraries look at it. So we have outsiders to look. So it's really important for all of these for you to be ready and just think, I need to be very concise in what I'm writing, and it needs to be good for anybody who's going to read it. And I recommend many times, give it to somebody who doesn't know your business. Have them read it. Does this make sense? You want to make sure before you submit. I've gotten some and I look at the business and I don't know what in the world is going on. You know, I'm not sure what their business is, what it is they're trying to do. Writing tips. Okay, we have an issue, yes.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, that would be helpful, wouldn't it? And everybody does get history. Well, somebody could. So we're newer at this part up front. Our associate director was somewhere else. So I knew you guys could see it. So sorry about that. Hopefully they kept me as a admin on here. There you are. Y'all like that better? Can they see it?
Yes, it looks
Okay.
like they can. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Conrad.
No worries. Okay, so we are back again at, these are writing tips. So write with the reader in mind. Who's going to be looking at this? Somebody who has no idea who you are or what your business is. Make sure it's easy for anybody to read, as I said, and understand what you're writing. Make it simple, not fancy. Again, keep it simple. You can be straight to the point, just talk about your business. Avoid fluff or all these other words. I can tell you how many now I see with AI and people aren't even checking it. We don't need to see all that. It really should come from you, what your business is and what you're looking for. Because I had some that even said, put your business name here. And when I'm reading a grant application like that, kind of worries me a little. So make sure that you are writing. I'm loving your face there. So, all right, follow the application instructions and the specified format. This is so important. It sounds so basic, but I talk to other grant companies that give grants, nonprofits, for-profit. They have the same thing. People send in terrible applications that they have to go through so many before they find one, that they aren't answering the questions that you're supposed to answer. Don't send me a 50 page business plan. No one wants to read it. Answer the questions that are asked of you. Make sure they can be found. Highlight. Ours, I even put in our grant application now, copy and paste this. Why? I can find it. The judges can find it. If you decide to do all these other things with it and it's embedded on page 28, we may miss it and you get disqualified. It does not need to be long. Some of our very successful grant winners don't have a whole lot in each one, but we know what the heck their business is, what they're using the money for, etc. So make sure you follow those instructions as best you can. Mirror the guideline language in subheadings in the proposal. We have said this before, it's very helpful. If you don't use ours, make the headings bold for each question that we have asked so we can find it. Again, if we can't find it, you might be disqualified when it's buried in there somewhere and we didn't know you actually answered the question. So our next set of tips then, be concise. Again, straight to the point, just answer the question. They don't need a whole lot of other things in there. Don't add words that aren't needed. Again, we don't need all that. We want to be able to look, read, we know your business, your answer our questions, and then we can move on to the next part. The first sentence should be the main point. Use grammar and spell check. You may laugh at this one, especially on the funder's name. We're Texas Women's University with an A, and we see women's a lot. But I mean, again, if you're trying to make a good impression, at least spell our name right. Sometimes we see in the application too, I'm applying for this HER grant, or they've called it some grant that's not even ours. So it's like, was this application even meant for us if they don't get even the grant name correct? But use your grammar and spell check on here as well. So there's different things, and these sections are usually typical in a grant application. So business information. We want to know something about your business. We require formation documents. And I'm going to show some later because this is the number one reason people get disqualified. They don't send in the correct documentation. So next will be a narrative or proposal. Talk about your business in here. You're telling a story. This is your business. I want to hear about it. It doesn't need to be really long, but maybe you always like this. Maybe you were something in healthcare. My daughter used to say she wanted to be a baby doctor, but it's fun to read something like that. My daughter now actually works for a foster care agency, but it's with kids. So sometimes it's nice to really read, is this some passion you've had all your life? Is that something? Because it means something to us when we're reading that. It's like, oh, they really love this. And they probably researched it and knew all their life they would want something like this. Tell a story. We want to know you and who your business is and what led you there. Budget. This is another area where people really get messed up. You want to take your time with the budget. And remember, we have a grant email to answer every single question that you have. Now, we don't want you sending it on every piece of the grant, but on budget, I'm a little confused on this. Can somebody help me? We'll be glad. If you want to send your business formation documents, can you look at this? Does this count? And most of the time it's not. Sometimes people aren't paying attention to those documents. An assumed name, a DBA, who knows how long those are good for? Right. And they're good for 10 years and I've gotten expired. Well, you know what? You're not in good standing with the state. Your business is not legal. So we're going to disqualify you right from the beginning. So make sure you look at all of these things. Attachments. We ask for attachments, a PDF. We need every single thing in the grant software. Do not give us clickable links that take us out of the software, because then everybody has to log back in. You put the attachments in here. If we ever get audited, no one wants to be going out to another thing. And if we get audited in 3 years, whatever you click to is probably not even going to be there. Do not do that. Read the guidelines. And if it says send a PDF, send a PDF. do not send clickable links. You know what I'm talking about, right? When I say those, because they take you away. A lot of the grants want to know if you have some types of certifications. Ours doesn't necessarily, but for something as woman-owned, you could use that as proof that your business is woman-owned. But I've had people send other certifications and it didn't say woman. If it doesn't say woman, you're disqualified. All right, here are our favorite words. We use it every year. Read, read, read. The failure to follow instructions is the #1 reason for rejection. And it starts at the very first thing. So read those guidelines at least twice. Read the FAQ. I can't tell you how many questions I get that are either right there in the guidelines or in the FAQ. And it tells me they're not really paying any attention to here. If there are key terms in there, highlight them as you're going through. I really need to get this in. So you can mark up, you can print out whatever ahead of time if you want and start marking on it if you want. And email the funder for clarification. That just takes a second, guys. And if that saved you or got you closer to winning the grant, or that is the only thing in your application that kicked you out, you'll be glad you spent that time to send an email. Writing your narrative. Again, this is where you want to tell your story clearly. It does not have to be long. My name is so-and-so. I've always liked this. I just decided, or I've cooked since I was a child. I always loved baking, and I sold out of my dorm room, and now I want to open a place. I mean, that's it. You know, it can be just as simple as that. But now we kind of know you've done it at home. It's kind of been a natural passion. Go from there. What problem are you solving? Many times new businesses aren't sure. What is it you're doing? What is it that you are helping your client with that somebody else isn't doing it? Why are you doing this now? So think about it. Can anyone here give me an example of a problem they're solving? Go ahead, Connie.
I help stressed out adults just relax and decompress through art. So that, you know, they can move forward working and maneuvering in life when life is life.
Right. So Connie helps adults that need to de-stress, right? I mean, sometimes it's simple as that. Think about that for your business. What problem are you solving for them? Why now? You know, if you're in AI, why now? Because it's still early on. You know, think about those things. What is your business doing or offering that others don't have? Why you? This is what makes you stand out different than somebody else. Maybe you target a specific audience. There could be something else. Why you? I'm an expert. I have certifications in this, and this. Think about it. What makes you stand out? We see a lot of coaches. What makes you different from all the other coaches in the room? So think about that when you are putting together your grant proposal. And keep it authentic. Be you, be real. We like seeing that there are real people in here doing this. You may have a sense of humor, whatever it is. Just keep you in your proposal. Go back to my clicker. Do not. Okay. We did that one already. I don't think we did this one. Oh, use direct, avoid fluff, follow the word. Okay, it's similar to another one. Bullet points are okay in here. Again, remember, 3 or more people are reading your application. Make it easy to read. If there's a word count in an application somewhere, make sure you're following that. Don't give more than what they have asked for. And then think about, what does the reviewer need to know? Again, this is where I think, give it to somebody else to look at who doesn't know your business, and they can look at that and see if your proposal makes sense. Because sometimes we look at these and they're very, very confusing. And maybe they have 20 different thoughts in there for one business. So be concise, think about the words. What is it somebody needs to know? If something is not important or answering a specific question, you probably don't need it in there. Sorry, this one. Okay, avoid common mistakes. Do not rush. Day one, disqual, 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 disqual. You don't need to submit on day one. There is no prize for being the first person to turn in a grant. And I can tell you, every single year, those we get on day one are almost immediately disqualified because they did not read. So you want to make sure on these, again, why would you waste your own time if it's not something that has followed the guidelines? So don't be in a rush to turn your application in. Watch for typos, inconsistencies. Sometimes as we're reviewing grants, this part doesn't match this part. This is my budget, but these quotes are for something you haven't even said you're going to buy for your business. Pay attention. Make sure everything matches. Match your budget to your narrative. This is my story. I'm going to be purchasing, I'm going to get some advertising. I'm going to buy some fixtures. I'm going to do something else. Make sure it's somewhere in the narrative and shows in the budget. Because again, sometimes we get those that don't match. If we don't know what we're funding, you're not going to get any money. So make sure, again, you pay very good attention to that. We ask for quotes, pictures, etc. for what you're going to buy. Maybe you see it on Amazon. You can send a picture of that. Make sure you do it. But you want to send the picture, no clickable links to Amazon, or you're going to be disqualified. So again, just make sure they match. Sometimes people get confused when they're doing that. And we put even a template, this is how to do it, your budget. And our grant is whatever amount. If it's 5,000, it's 5,000. It is not 4,998. You're not doing us a favor by saying, I'm saving you money. This grant has already been set. It's for 5,000. It is not for 5,001 cents. It is not for 7,000. It is not for 10,000. I see in some budgets, they're saying the grants are going to pay for all that. So what happens then? Disqualified. So really pay attention to that.
So when they're asking for a budget, typically they're looking for just the budget for that allocated amount.
Yes. So what you can do, and we give an example, you can go over the amount, but owner investment. So if your purchase is $5,025, you show 5,000 from the grant funds and 25 by owner funds or owner investment. You break that up because as soon as we see it's not for the grant amount, and that's very common. Again, we add everything up. As a state entity paid with taxes, we cannot pay your taxes either. So on those, we say give the amount minus taxes. We can pay shipping. We can do some of the other, but we can't pay taxes. And it's written out in there. And every year we get some where the taxes are in there. All right. So then after that, make sure your quotes, pictures, again, exactly match.
I was just wondering, what if your need is lower than the budget, than the?
Well, you need paper, you need a copier, you need pens, you need a name badge, you need some business cards, you need something. You need water for your staff. You can find something. And if you can't, then this is not the grant for you. There's so many different things that you can add.
So it's okay to.
Yeah. Yeah, we just need to know what the grant is paying for, and so it's fine like that. But sometimes people say advertising, and they send something with all these different prices broken out by month. How do we know where the 5,000 is going? Now, we are gonna have a time at the end for questions, but since you raised your hand, I'll do that. But if we'll wait, we'll answer, because sometimes the questions are answered. But go ahead.
Yeah, and that's perfect that you mentioned advertising, because my question was, what are like some best practices when like trying to get budget for paid ads? So like targeted and things like that, like how would you best want that showcased?
So you can say ads, but you're gonna wanna put in somewhere. We'd like to see probably more than just ads. If there are tangibles you're buying, that's great. But if it is ads, you be very, very specific. I am going to pay $50 a month on Google, or $50 a day, or $10 a day on Google for local reach in my area, something like that. But you have to have the numbers that don't show. Just don't send me something from Google that says, doesn't even have the hourly rate or something, something like that in there. So in your narrative, you want to make sure you're saying how that advertising is going to fund your business. We had, how it's going to help your business grow. The purpose of this grant is to help you grow your business. What is something that you can use to help do that? And we don't allow it for staffing, but you can have a consultant. And there is a big difference between an employee and a consultant who may do your website or may help with social media or something like that. So know the difference. But when we start seeing the word hiring, employee, that's putting you kind of very close or in the disqualification area.
All
Because-
grants?
No,
Okay.
you have, what are our keywords? You remember the three?
Read.
Yeah, read. So every grant is different. A lot of these are geared towards ours because we really want successful grants. When more than half are disqualified, something is not right. So, yeah, some are easier, some are not, some are more complicated, some require videos. I mean, there's all kinds of different grants that are out there. And then label file uploads correctly. I had something where it said business formation. Guess what? It wasn't. And they were disqualified because they didn't send in business formation. So make sure before you do your file uploads that you check and double check. You cannot do this grant over. It is not 2 or 3 different businesses you want to do. It is not, oops, I made a mistake, I'm going to go in and correct it. You can start the grant process at any time putting your information in. I recommend you send it in the day before, every year, every single year. I had a tech issue. I had this. Well, you know what? You've known this deadline. Do not go in there at 4:30 when it's due at 5. Do not go in there at 4:45. And don't send me a message that you were in there, but it didn't take. They can see the back end as well. You need to allow plenty of time, but every single year it happens. So do not, like, we don't want to see that. I mean, allow plenty of time. Put on your calendar, it's due the day before. You can do it at 5 o'clock that day. But I mean, I would think it'd be extremely frustrating to you as well if you knew you missed it by seconds or minutes because you did not prepare. it takes time to upload and go through everything in a grant application. So you want to make sure you make your time. Allow enough time for that. Sorry, I'm just really bad at going to the next screen on this one. There we are. Budget breakdown. Every single dollar has a purpose. Don't leave some dollars out there. It has to be 5,000 and you have to show it in the budget. Explain how the money, and some of this is going to be in your narrative. How is this money going to help your business achieve your goal? I mean, it could be as simple as business cards or, some advertising. It's going to give me more exposure in my local market. Before you're going to do that though, some people spend a ton of money on marketing, but they aren't marketing to their client, they're marketing to the world. And when you're marketing to everyone, you're wasting your money. So we would like to see in there somewhere who your ideal client is and that you know who it is so you can direct your money there. Avoid unallowable costs. Read through, this is where we go again, read. We have in there what our funds can't be used for. Sales tax, there's some other things in there, but just go through and look before you submit, because again, that would be an automatic disqualifier. We say we can't pay, and that's in your grant proposal. Attachment matters. We kind of touched on this before. Double check the required docs. Business formation documents. That is not the first certificate of filing for an LLC. Many times people send that page in. I didn't ask for a certificate of filing. I asked for business formation documents. This shows that you started your business. It shows the manager, shows the owners of the business. So you want to make sure the owners are shown. You have to show every single page. I've had some LLC has governing people managers. I see people send one on a first page and nothing else. Okay, I don't know if there are any more managers. It's not included. So send every single page. Make sure they're signed and dated. Do not send a form that is not signed. That is a legal document. It needs to be signed and dated. You do get the thing from the state that has that is certified, but I can't tell you how many other things that we get where they're not signed, dated. If you're making changes and you send something in, sometimes you need more than just your formation document. If you have a man on there, this is on another page, but your business, you have to show you own the business, that it's 51%. If it's you and your husband and there's nothing written up and there's no show of managers, it's 50-50 and you aren't woman-owned. And many times the husband has nothing to do with it. So think about this when you're setting up your business. If he is on there, then you need some kind of document showing the division and the percentage of ownership. And this is very, very important because for years, people were just putting a woman as the face of the business that had nothing to do with the business. So now if you're trying to send something in that doesn't show that, then you're going to be disqualified immediate. 51% or more. You can have 2 or 3 women own a business. I mean, there are many different ways that you can do it, but you have to show the percentage. If it's just you, it's just you. So then it's 100%. So you meet that. So it's very important that all pages are submitted. And we say with our formation documents, if there's if we need articles of incorporation, something else, you attach that along with the formation document. Like on there, but doesn't want to do it. Sorry about that. Okay, what is a woman-owned business? So we touched on this. At least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women. The women must manage the day-to-day operations. 50-50 is not woman-owned, and we get some of these every year. And we're trying to be as clear as possible on that. You have to show somewhere who owns how much of it. Proving woman ownership. Again, this is the most difficult thing, and the reason half of the grants, half, are disqualified. They haven't shown with the documents that we asked for that the business is woman-owned. We need the formation document, signed and dated articles of incorporation or operating agreement along with the formation document, any woman-owned certification. Check that certification. They only last for so many years. If you send something in, even though it says you're woman-owned, but it's not valid, you will be disqualified. Ineligible. We have a whole list of what is ineligible, and we get these all the time. I've gotten a credit card and a driver's license. Well, if we were unethical, we could, be out spending. That is not anything that it just blows my mind sometimes, the things that people send in. We want the entity, the business formation document. On an LLC, is there certificate of filing? No. It gives the name of your business. Even if it's my name, Tracy LLC, doesn't show a manager. They could have named it after their mother. That is not proof your business is woman-owned. Does anybody know what they can do? You can send that in, and I'll tell you that is wrong. And you can find the actual document and send that in. An EIN is not proof of woman-owned. It will say so, it can say sole member, but I've seen businesses where they aren't. They aren't proving it. You're just filing for it and putting your name on it and checking. They are not investigating that your business is woman-owned. Sales and use tax permit. No one on there says, it does not say who the managers of your business are. Driver's license, no. Passport, no. Credit card, no. Social security card, no. I mean, a lot of these are, we don't want that. That's not what we're asked for. Well, how are you going to know you're a woman? Well, we're going to see you in our class. Do not send things that people don't ask for. Minority-owned business certification. Some have sent those in, but it doesn't say woman. So if it does not say woman, we cannot accept it. Okay. This is a certificate of formation for an LLC. How many of you in here or online have an LLC? That's a majority. So that's why I put this up here. Up at the top is an entity name. A registered agent is not an owner of the company. They can be, but they can be anybody out there. You can get a registered agent and mail can go to them. They are not an owner. And I've gotten this before where not all the pages are there, and just a registered agent does not mean they own the business. You go down a little further, they can't see me online, but over here, initial governing person. And you can't just send me this page, is what I tell you. There could be 2 or 3 on a page, the next page, that we haven't seen. You need to send every single page of the document in. This is the second page. See, here we could have 2 more. And then you go to this is the third page of it. Again, it needs to be signed and dated. So make sure that you do that on there. So if there is a man on here, there's no percentage, then you're gonna need to find articles of incorporation or something, another form showing who the management of this company and what percentage each person has signed and dated. This is an assumed name. Do any of you have an assumed name or a DBA? Same way. Same way here. As you do, if you have a woman and a man, you're gonna need to send something else showing ownership. You can find a lot of these forms online even, but it has to be registered, or it has to be, you can get them notarized, different ways you can send them in. I have gotten grant applications and we've started not accepting them, changes to woman-owned after the grant is announced, because people have gone in and, oh, well, we'll say it's woman-owned. And we don't accept those changes then. So you want to make sure before you file one, if it is there. I had somebody one time, they gave me a document that was, after the grant was written, making it woman-owned, going back 2 years. You can't go back in time and make that business woman-owned 2 years ago. So be very careful when you're doing this or when you're setting up your business. Review. Okay. Review it as you are the funding source. Again, before you're going to send a grant application in, make sure you take the time to look it over and go over everything on it. Why should anyone bother to read it? Look at it. If it's super long and looks messy, you don't really want to send it in yet. Take the time, again, review, look at all the questions that are on there. We have a grant checklist, go through the grant checklist and make sure that you've answered every single question on there. Again, if there's something that you have not done, go back and do it. We try to do everything we possibly can to help you turn in a good grant application, but at some point, it's obviously on you, you know, that make sure we're doing what we can, and we really want the good apps, because it's so frustrating when we go, oh, this is a great project. Well, they didn't submit this, they didn't answer the questions we needed to know. So again, pay attention as you're going through this. Think about who you're giving it to. Why should they care? Your business, your project, is going to make a difference in something. When you're doing this too, think of a project that you're going to do and complete. We've had some that, going out a year, haven't sent in the requirements for the second half. We want you to grow your business. It is important to us that you do this and get started on your project right away. And then look at it. And if you do share with somebody else to read, would they fund it? Don't give it to your mom, because moms love everything you do. Give it to somebody who really doesn't know what you're doing. All right, these are common disqualifiers, and I probably touched on all of them. You didn't prove ownership. So we've gone through what woman-owned is and how we need to see it. Failing to allow enough time to submit your documents. Not reading the application package in its entirety. And again, I can see this by questions we get that are clearly written in there. Make sure you read it and read it again a second time. Because, you know, you'll pick something up maybe the first time you were just skimming through, but you really want to take your time on these, because this is money you could get very quickly. not following formatting guidelines. This is one where I've said, don't give links that take you away from the platform that you're applying in. Failing to proofread, no one's not gotten a grant due to proofreading, but if you did have numbers turned around, that could affect something like that. So you want to make sure you double check that budget, make sure what you're sending in, you're going to be spending on matches that budget. Didn't sign or date the application. Legal documents, you need to have them signed and dated. And many times we see at the very end, somebody signs it, but they don't put the date on it. So it may sound silly, but these are all things that you have to do on these to make sure everything's done. Sometimes you just don't score high enough. We get hundreds of applications. So no proof of what the grant's gonna purchase. A lot of times that documentation isn't there. Don't submit information. They don't submit information that's requested. You have to answer our questions. And it's over or below the grant amount. The grant is $5,000 only. Again, not less, not more. Tons of little things you can buy to make it equal that number. All right, follow up. You can check online, see when everything needs to be turned in. You can send a thank you note. We really like that. It's really nice to hear from people too who didn't get it, but appreciate the opportunity. If funded, read that award carefully. We have requirements. You have to do a business plan. You have to have 3 hours of advising. Don't wait on those either. Get started right away. If proposal's not funded, some places will give you feedback. We get so many grants, we don't, but I give you a list of the most common reasons. And typically, if you look and go look at your application, you can see which one applied to your business. Explore other funding sources. You've already done a grant application. You have this information that you may be able to apply somewhere else. Apply next year. We've had people who didn't win and applied the next year, or maybe they didn't win for several years, but they finally did. So apply again. And don't send hate mail. It is not personal. We have an independent judging committee. It is not about you. It was about you just didn't make it. And sometimes we get that, but that kind of wouldn't look good if you applied the next year because we remember those that do that. So, again, grants are competitive. Their clarity, compliance, and preparation really will help you make the difference. And again, when the funder says you can email questions, do it, because it could be the one thing that saves you from a good application to your application being disqualified. So you are getting this. Everybody's getting the slides. These are some places that you can find other grants. If you follow us online, or social media, we try to share out a lot of the other grants that we find for women-owned businesses. Okay, so I'm going to stop with that. So questions, we're going to do some from the room and some from online. Kimberly, I'm going to start with you because we've had some questions in here. Do you have any questions?
Yes, we do. Michelle Holloway asked, and I'm sorry, I'm going right back to it. I wrote down the exact time that she asked it. Give me 1 second. We have a lot going on in the chat, but it's all good. It's all great.
Good. Well, I see Lynn. I see some of our grant winners online as well. So even they know they can perfect those who, I think there's someone in the room too, or a couple of them.
Michelle asked, she said, when you mentioned that submitting first doesn't help, she's been told by others that not to wait to submit because the winners are selected along the way and the money could be gone. I guess that's in rolling applications. Is it different for each grant?
And that's where you need to read. If it says rolling applications, that means until the money is gone. And we did that with the Assist Her grant. Oh my gosh, and we had over 5,000 applications for that. But even then, a lot of disqualified. Read, but for our grant, if it does not say, ours tells you specifically how many we're giving. There's a specific due date and we go by that. So if it says rolling grant, then that is different.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any questions in here?
I have a question. So
She had her hand up first.
Sorry, quick question. So this is more of a follow-up on the paid ads part.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned like one or needing to include information on the ideal client. Does that need to be really specific? Because I have a very specific target market, like it's very specific. I was
Well,
told very
perfect. Put that in. You already have it.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
It goes down to like.
It makes more,
demographics,
it makes more sense that way. The question was if they have very specific, but yes, you want to put that in if you're gonna do advertising, so we know, just say who it is, and it makes more sense than me trying to sell to every person in the United States. And we hear that sometimes, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, any more, Kimberly?
Yes, Donna Durbin asked if a DBA or qualifies as formation documents.
Yes, we had a DBA on here and showed that.
Great.
That qualifies. That is business formation.
And of course, we always want to say, but make sure it hasn't expired.
Yes, we discussed that in the beginning, and we knew some people in here knew it was 10 years. Okay, now.
some grants that I'm seeing, and you alluded to it, are requiring a video submission.
Uh-huh.
And it's different, like 60 seconds, 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And they're asking for specific things, but I get into my head to think that everything needs to be perfect, the background, the this, the that. Is it more of like what you're saying?
They're interested in you
Okay. 'cause
and a
I'm freaking
personality
out about
and the
that.
business. Don't overthink. So many times we get in our own heads, we don't get anything done. Just get in there and do it. I want to see someone who's, excited about their business, depending on their question. Show your personality, your business, and what you're doing. I don't think they really care if you have a logo in the back even. Your new businesses, or if it's for startups or something. People understand that. Personality goes a long way on something like that. That is if you get a video. All right, anybody else?
Tracy, is the bank account in one owner's name signature card, is that still a?
We're not using that anymore. We're going with the business formation document.
Okay,
Read
great.
the guidelines and it's going to tell you specifically. We have gotten really tight on what we are accepting now because so many oddball things were coming in. We're not accepting that. If you have a business, you need to know where your business formation documents are, period. Put them in a file, put them somewhere where you have access to. If you can't find it, go to the county clerk and get another copy or get one from the state. Every single person with a business needs to know where their business formation documents are. Sorry, that's another one. You need to keep track. You need to let them know when you move. You need to know if there's a different address. You need to know and it's your responsibility as a business owner to know where this is. All right, back in this room. I know we're over. If anyone has to go, please go.
When you buy out for partnerships, is the stock transfer documentation able to be submitted of showing?
If it is a buyout, yes, you need to show that and the original documentation. Everything needs to go back to formation documents or what it was in. We had something where somebody got shares from somebody, but that person didn't document anything. How the heck do I know? You didn't just write some. Not that we think people are doing that, but everything has to be legally correct for your business to be funded. Okay. Okay, real quick. I know we're over. You can ask me questions afterwards.
I can ask you after, no big deal.
All right, I think there's one more question online.
They're gonna skip the networking to be more.
Oh, they like these questions, okay. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What if you have two women businesses that wanna collaborate on something? How do you do that? Do you just do it with the one business? and
How do you do
use
it if
the
you
other-
have two businesses that are gonna
Two
collaborate?
different women
Right.
businesses.
That,
that
you
collaborate.
pick one or the other. This is
Okay.
not, those are two different companies.
Okay,
You can mention
doesn't
in
matter.
one and you guys work together on that one business where you are doing.
and
it.
have the other person be like the consultant group, so that.
Or they can be a part, but two different businesses can't apply for
Okay,
one grant.
That's what I was.
Yeah,
questioning.
If you had two women business owners, or 3, 4, 5, 20, you could apply
Yeah,
with the same.
well, and my other question would be, you have two that are gonna do it, if we both do it? would-
Two people can go through the grant training
Yeah,
and
then
that
maybe
portion of
one
it.
or the other get it.
Right,
Okay,
right. Funds would only go to one,
right,
only one winner.
okay.
All right, anything online?
Let's see here. We did have a question, about past expenses when applying for grants.
No. A grant is for something in the future. A grant is not a past expense that you have had. It clearly states in ours, that it doesn't pay monthly bills either. So if there was something back there, it is not for that. It is for a project for your business. If it's with another company, read. Okay, Elizabeth.
Hi Tracy,
Elizabeth,
my apologies for my tardiness.
you're fine.
Thank you, Doug. So my question is, you may have already answered this, but I just wanted to see the clarification. This 2025 grant dates here, these are the only things that you could do a grant for. That's what-
Those are the only grants for 2025 from the Center for Women Entrepreneurs.
Okay, so just because I am a specific type of learner, I wanna ask, you know about my podcast, stuff like that.
Right.
Pretty Girl Swag is something that is in the future. So let's say I wanted to apply for a grant. My question is, can I, based on these things, because to me. I
You
don't think-
have to have the business formed to be able to file for a grant.
Okay.
You can go down and get that DBA for $25. Okay. Well, I think Denton was 23. It's not very expensive to get that. Okay, was there any more online? Any more in here?
What is rural?
What
do you
is
consider
rural?
rural?
We're not rural. Rural is 50,000 or less, and we have that listed on the website for the counties that are eligible. Doesn't matter if your community only has 500. If you're in a county that has 50,000 or more, then you're not eligible. And we have to pick. There are lots of different things out there. We go by what the Census Bureau has
If you care.
for that one.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. Thank you.
Okay, so that will be it with all the questions. Thank you all with, you can ask, or we have a grant email. Put that in the chat, Christine or Kimberly, if you have
right.
questions on a grant, put it in there. We do have on our website grants. So we get a ton of questions. When is your grant open? It's on our website, and so we encourage you to either get our newsletter or follow us on social media, because we'll post ours or other grants that we find for women-owned businesses. So, okay, well, thank you all so much for being here. I hope that was helpful to you. Kimberly, you guys can just do one faster networking if anybody is interested. All right, a couple things coming up. Next month, we are gonna have, you may have seen her before, Tony Harris Taylor. May 3rd, she's gonna do a 3-hour Saturday workshop on AI. It's gonna be virtual only. We will have that link up today where you can register. It's on Eventbrite already. So she is great and there's so much to learn from her. But then we're gonna go on and have her for Women Rise, where she's gonna talk about franchising. And she has different ways that you can do it. And there are some franchises you can do from home that you only pay like $5,000 for. So she'll have some really good and interesting information for us next month. So you can find those, they'll be on our Eventbrite, and we'll be sending some things about that information. July 8th is our CWE 10-year celebration. Everybody mark your calendars. It's gonna be 5 to 7 over there. We are gonna have a women's showcase. We're getting ready to send that information out where you can register. It's not gonna cost you anything if you wanna come share your business. And then October 23rd, way out there, the Governor's Small Business Forum is going to be here in Denton. It is women focused. It will probably be at the convention center from 9 to 3. So we have a lot of really great things that are coming up. Kimberly, I'm gonna stop recording and give it back to you.